I'm ready whenever you are.
Good morning. It's time for Two Guys on Sports. I'm Larry Hazer.
I'm Dick Olson.
Good
morning, Larry.
Good morning, Dick. We're so used to our introductions.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on this weekend. We're going to start with 8-player football. The Thorp Cardinals making it to the 8-player state championship after beating McDonald Central last week, 16-13.
I said, Larry, this team has really put on, 8-man is not something where you really think about defense, but defense has really been their calling card in the playoffs. And they have went you talk about going through a gauntlet. They went through Owen Withy, Gilman, and McDonald to get to this point. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And I talked with their head coach, Keldrick Stokes, and you're going to see by just me talking to him how fired up this guy is. And I'm sure he gets his team fired up, too, for the state championship. But here's how the conversation went with him. Let's take a look at your team now. If you could give us kind of an overview of your team. Looking on paper, you've got a couple of 1,000-yard rushers. You've got a quarterback that's thrown for over 1,500 yards. Are you a team that likes to mix it up, or what do we see when we see the Thorp Cardinals?
Well, when you see the Thorp Cardinals, we base everything off of our run game. A lot of people know because I'm a former quarterback, they think I want to throw the ball all over the yard. I would like that if we didn't have to. We have a running back like Logan Hansen, Landon Pink, and then our quarterback can also run in Denzel Sutton. We try to put the ball in their hands and see what we can get out of it.
You're coming into this championship game now, coming out of a conference. It looked pretty tough. I mean, you guys tied with Gilman for first place. Gilman was ranked number 1 pretty much all year in 8-player football. Coming out of that conference, does that help you get ready when you come into the playoffs then?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we got really good teams that are led by great coaches. When you're playing teams that are coached by Robin Rosemeyer, Terry Laube, Todd Detown, you got to have your stuff ready every week. You got to be on your P's and Q's about everything, special teams, offense and defensively. So I think we're battle-tested. I think we showed our resiliency over the last few weeks. We're just a team I think we're peaking at the right time.
Now, we look at your schedule here as of late, especially in the playoffs. You were able to beat a couple of teams that beat you earlier in the season.
Yeah, I think we needed those. I think those losses were very good learning lessons for our team. They're teachable moments. It gave us some things that I think you don't get in wins. Sometimes you win in blowouts. You don't learn a lot about your ball club. We got a tough group of kids who can get over things fast. So I think those losses were blessings in disguise for us.
So what was the key now? I'm talking about the Gilman game in Level 2 and then McDonald Central last week. Those were losses earlier. You were able to get wins in the playoffs. What was the difference in those games?
I think we really worked on a lot of our tackling and just our leverage. Not just we're letting people get outside of us too much early in the year. And we had some guys that really said, that's not happening anymore. We're going to do what we're asked to do. And our defense really, really got better every week. And that's a big tribute to our defensive coordinator, Josh Haraichik. He was really, really stern on what he wanted done, and he didn't get away from what his scheme was, and he really bared down on those things, and our kids responded well.
First time in the playoffs in 8-player football, and now you're in the state championship. You're taking on a Florence team that's unbeaten. How do you see that matchup coming into Saturday?
They're very tough. You can see it in the way they play. They play physical football. They got a lot of speed on the outside, and in the backfield, we got our work cut out for us. We got to play 4 quarters. We got to hustle to the ball. They run some different trick plays and some different counters that we have to be very sound and disciplined. So I'm very excited in what we got going forward here, but we know we got our work cut out for us.
What do you tell your team now coming into a state championship like this? I know a lot of these kids, first time for them and something this big, this magnitude of a game. How do you get them ready?
Just like we do every week. We always try and give small battles. Hey, let's win this possession. Hey, let's win this quarter. And that's how we're going to do Saturday. That's our goal Saturday is to, hey, let's win the first quarter, and then we move on from there. If we try and make it, hey, this is the biggest game of your life, I think we're going to be selling our kids short and doing them a disservice. So our job as coaches to minimize the magnitude of the game and win small battles.
All right, Coach, again, appreciate your time, and good luck on Saturday.
Thank you so much for having me, and go Cardinals.
That's Keldrick Stokes, head coach for the Thorp Cardinal football team. And, again, they're playing in the 8-player championship. And, he mentioned it, too. The 2 losses that they had during the regular season, they came back and beat those teams during the playoffs.
But, they really play defense. But, they've got an excellent offense, too. They average 238 yards a game rushing and another 120 yards passing. Logan Hansen, what a great season, 181 carries. 1,533 yards and 17 touchdowns. That's a tremendous season.
Yes.
But,
both teams, Florence, their opponent in the championship on Saturday afternoon, both teams in the championship for the first time. In fact, Thorp is in the playoffs for the first time, an 8-player.
I believe they won the 1993. I believe they won Division 6, as I recall.
And neither one of them are actually strangers to the playoff situation. No. Florence was a 27-time qualifier in the 11-player, and Thorp qualified 16 times.
I know Florence has had some tremendous teams up there over the years. I remember, it was probably like 1989. They played Loyal at a sectional final up at Wausau West there, and beat Loyal, a pretty good Loyal team that year. And but they've always had excellent athletics coming out of that school. So
so it should be a good one. And we'll be there for it on Saturday afternoon.
After last week's thing up at Boyceville where we thought we were going to have a defensive battle. I hate to say this is going to be a defensive battle, but Thorp only gives up 17 points a game and Florence only gives up 10. So
well, we'll see what happens.
but I hate to go out on a limb like I did last week. And
we'll get to that game in just a minute. But the 8-player championship, 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon from Wisconsin Rapids High School. On 92.7 FM, WPKG.
Yeah, that's kind of. I have never seen an 8-man game, Larry. So
I kind of watched some highlights of some games just to get kind of acclimated to it.
I'm kind of excited to see this. So
the field is a little narrower. It's going to be kind of weird because they actually go off a regular field, but they have a line drawn about 7 yards in.
Right. The field is, instead of being 50 yards wide, it's probably around 38 to 40 yards wide.
So it'll be a little different there, and of course, not as many players on the field.
No. And from what people have told me over the years, if you've got an excellent offensive line, you're going to do well.
Yeah.
Because of course that's any sport, but anybody in football, but especially in 3-man, because if they can take out the front guys in front of them, there's not much left behind them.
Right. So. You got 3 offensive linemen, and then nothing much after that.
Right.
All right. So again, Florence and Thorp in the 8-player football championship on Saturday afternoon at Wisconsin Rapids. All right, getting to the 11-player football. Now, we were up in Boyceville the other night for Boyceville and Edgar. And, coming into that Division 7 Level 3 game, everybody thought it was going to be a defensive game because Edgar had the last 9 games as shutouts, and Boyceville only gave up 52 points total all year.
I think, we've talked about quite a bit, but the first 2 series were so big in that game. Edgar stopped Boyceville, got the ball, went down and scored, kicked off again, stopped Boyceville again, and blocked a punt for a safety, got the ball. They were out 16-0 before Boyceville really got their footing on the ground.
Well, I'll have Coach Jerry Sins, because I had a chance to talk with him, and he kind of talks about that game and the game coming up here against Bangor, and I talked with him earlier this week. All right, first of all, Coach, congratulations on making it to Level 4 of the football playoffs this week.
Thank you very much.
Let's go back to last week in that game where you beat Boyceville rather handily. Were you surprised at the outcome as to the score? And what was your take on that game from last week?
Yeah, we were overall, pretty much shocked that it it was a game like it was, because their defense had been playing good all year. I believe they had given up a total of like 51 or 52 points coming into that game. The most they'd given up was 12 in any one game. And, of course, we'd only given up 14 and had 9 shutouts in a row. And then all of a sudden both teams are just flying up and down the field. They had a couple fast guys, had a fast back and a very fast wide receiver. And, we just got guys got out of position. And, of course, the quarterback was very good. He we only sacked him once. We thought we had him sacked 3-4 times, but he'd get away.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, he had a good enough arm that he could get the ball up and out. And once the guy caught it, he made some cuts, and we couldn't get a finger on him. All 4 of their touchdowns were long plays.
Mm-hmm.
We hadn't given up a single touchdown pass all year, and we gave up 3 of them in one game. So, yeah, it was pretty much a shock, to us. We made a few changes this week that hopefully slow down that for this Friday.
Yeah, I know people coming in probably thought it was going to be kind of a defensive game, but it ended up being, like you said, a shootout.
Yeah, that's what we thought. I would have guessed, 22-8, 22-14, maybe something like that. Carter Butt had a phenomenal game for us. He was just, when sometimes running backs just get in a trance where they just run on instinct, and that's basically what he was doing. He broke so many tackles, I couldn't believe it. Hurdling guys, jumping over guys, spinning off guys. And he'd get hit 4 or 5 times, it seemed like, on every play, but just keep going. Ended up setting school records or tying school records in 3 different areas. Most carries in a game, 37, tied a guy. Most yards, 317, and most touchdowns, 6. And the guy he tied was clear back in 1972, first year that I came to Edgar. His grandson is now a freshman quarterback on our team.
All right, you move on here now to play Bangor, a team that you played 4 years ago at level 4 of the playoffs, but a lot of these guys obviously weren't around at that time. They're playing now. How do you see that matchup with Bangor coming up on Friday?
Yeah, we played them a number of times. I think we played them in 16, we played them in 17, we played them in 19. They've always been, hard-fought, good battles. Interesting going through the scouting report. Their quarterback is a brother to the guy that played in 2019. Their leading rusher and leading tackler is a brother to a guy that played then. Their kicker is a brother to a guy that played then. I believe a couple of our offensive linemen wearing the same numbers had brothers in 2019. So it's amazing how that stuff happens. But they run the same offense pretty much like Abbotsford does or Eau Claire Regis does. They just try to control the ball, keep it away from you, beat you up. So it's going to be a physical game.
How do you get your kids ready now for this level of competition now? You're 1 game away from state. Is there anything you do different to get them ready for this one, you think?
No, we don't. We go through the same stuff. We always hope the weather stays good enough. We don't have snow on the ground so we can do the same things, because I think as soon as you're forced to go inside, your skills begin to, lessen, especially on things like punting and kicking and passing, because you can't really do it correctly. So, yeah, we were happy, to be able to get out yesterday. We should be able to get outside again today. Defensively, yesterday was a defensive day. We can't really simulate what we're going to have to try to do on Friday night because, guys just get too beat up in practice. But other than that, no, we go through all the same drills and stuff.
What's going to be the key for you guys to be successful on Friday?
Oh, I think like always, take care of the ball on offense. Don't turn it over. Keep penalties to a minimum. Hope your special teams can play well. They have an excellent kicker punter, this Crenshaw kid. He booms the ball. He kicks it pretty much to the end zone all the time, and he booms punts. He can kick, field goals 40 yards or more. So our special teams are going to have to play well.
All right, Coach. Thanks for your time, and good luck on Friday.
All right, yep, thanks. I'm happy we're playing in Durand, where all my family basically lives.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, I have 3 sisters that are all retired living in Durand, 3 brothers that live like in Elmwood area, which is only about 10 miles away. So.
All right. Well, again, good luck, Coach, and hopefully you can give your family a trip to state maybe.
All right. Thank you very much.
That's head coach Jerry Sins of the Edgar Wildcats, and I thought it was kind of interesting. Carter Butt with a 317-yard rushing night. That was a record, school record.
School record, yes.
And the guy that he broke the record from was on the first team that Coach Sins coached back in 1972. And that guy's grandkid now plays for Edgar.
Okay.
And Jerry's still coaching.
Yeah.
49 years later.
Yeah, he's going to get into great-grands pretty soon the way he's going. But, Butt is everything they said he was.
Yeah.
And of course, he also had Edgar's only pass completion of the night, too, at 18 yards.
That was for a
touchdown. Edgar and Bangor, it's been a rivalry.
Yeah.
Because not a big one, but they have met 3 or 4 times in the playoffs, and I think it's about 50-50, and should be a good game on a great field over in Durand.
Yeah, and Bangor, by the way, beat Cashton, who won that Scenic Bluffs Conference, and actually beat Bangor earlier in the year.
We've seen so much of that in the playoffs where teams that got beat in conference play have come back and beat that team in playoff action. We've seen a lot of that this year. So.
Yeah, and you look at Bangor statistically, they are a team that really relies heavily on the rush.
Yeah, 2,000-yard rushers and very few passes. I believe it was like 40 or 50 passes.
Not many passes
at all.
No. So that one coming up on Friday night. You can hear that one on 92.3 FM, WOSQ. We'll be there for that one, covering it over in Durand at Bowerbilt Complex for that one. 7 o'clock is game time on Friday night. In the other side for Division 7, it will be Blackhawk Warren against Reedsville. And wouldn't that be something if Edgar and Blackhawk Warren hooked up again?
That was a couple of years ago. And, 2018, I believe, or 20, whatever. But anyway, Blackhawk Warren beat them down there.
6-0.
Yeah, 6-0.
Was the final.
Those two schools are playing at Elkhorn.
Yes.
On Friday night. So
in Division 6, Grantsburg is going to take on Stratford. That game at Chippewa Falls.
I haven't seen any tape on Grantsburg, but boy, their scores look like they're a heck of a ball club, and we'll see what happens. But Stratford is really playing well right now, and you almost got to look at them. I think they'll win it, but who knows? We don't know enough about Grantsburg to say it.
That game, by the way, on 1450 AM, 98.7 FM, WDLB on Friday night at Chippewa Falls. And just looking at a summary of this matchup, Grantsburg has been one of the most dominating teams, winning all 3 games in a running clock fashion.
Yeah, I believe last week they played Cameron. I think it was 61-6.
61-20.
61. I knew they put up 61 points.
So,
so
they're capable of putting.
And Cameron was tied for the Heart of the North championship. Right. So not an easy task. So Grantsburg could be very tough. So.
Yeah, and if they get by that one, they go to the championship game in Division 6, and it won't be any easy match there either.
Kewanee and Darlington, two schools with pretty rich football traditions there. So.
St. Croix Falls in Division 5, the Cinderella story keeps going.
Yep, up to 8 in a row now. So
I was surprised,
they handled Northwestern.
Yeah, not that they beat them, but they handled
and put up 46 points. And and I think back, Larry, to the game against Neilsville, and you look at the chances that Neilsville had to beat them that night. Many chance, and it just seems as the playoffs have went on, they've gotten better and better and better. So.
Yeah, they take on Wrightstown Friday night at Rhinelander.
It should be interesting there.
And the other side of that one, Aquinas takes on Horicon Hustaford at Wisconsin Dells.
Aquinas with a big win over Columbus last weekend at home. Columbus, who was the defending D4 champion, Aquinas came in and looked like they handled them pretty well.
Yeah. All right, so that's Division 5. Division 4, we'll have Baldwin-Woodville against Lodi.
Yeah, Baldwin-Woodville, kind of the Cinderella story here, but we talked about this before. We should have mentioned, like St. Croix Falls, we talked about that, losing to Northwestern earlier and coming back and beating
there's
them.
Another one.
And Baldwin-Woodville against St. Croix Central. St. Croix Central handled them very well during the season. Baldwin-Woodville came back and beat them in the playoffs. Pretty good game here in Arcadia with them and Lodi.
Yeah.
Lodi is a team that many people were highly regarded before the playoffs started. So, and then, of course, on the other side, you got Catholic Memorial and Luxembourg Casco, and that's at Kewaskum.
All right. In Division 3, in Marshfield, this one is going to be. Rice Lake is going to take on Green Bay Notre Dame.
Yeah, Rice Lake is putting up the points, too, here big time. They handled on Alaska fairly easily, and Notre Dame was kind of a sexy pick by a lot of people before the tournament started. But on the other side, you got a couple of real Cinderellas. You know, you got a 4 in Grafton and a 7 in Stoughton, and Grafton beat a 7 to get to the game. So
wow.
But Stoughton was under 500, barely got in the tournament as a 7th seed, and boy, now they're in level 4. So
well, if you like running, if you like the running game, then you might want to go over to Marshfield and watch that game because Rice Lake had 359 yards rushing last week. And Christian Collins of Green Bay Notre Dame currently leads the state in yards rushing.
Yes, he does. So
there you go, Marshfield for that one. In Division II, Waunakee is going to take on Kaukauna, and Sun Prairie East against Badger in those semifinals. And in Division I, Kimberly takes on Marquette, and Hamilton goes against Franklin.
Yeah, all big-time matchups. That Kimberly-Marquette matchup is a big-time one, and as is Hamilton. Franklin beat Muskego last weekend. That was a battle of the Titans there, too. So,
some good matchups coming up in level 4.
Bet. And, no matter who comes out of these games, there should be some tremendous games in Madison. So,
and the state football finals coming up next Thursday and Friday. They'll start with Division 7 at 10 a.m. on Thursday, and then Division 3 at 10 a.m. on Friday. Divisions 4, 5, 6, and 7 on Thursday, 1, 2, and 3 on Friday of next week down at Camp Randall Stadium in Madison.
Yep, you bet. And on the state television network.
Yes, Not on Bally Sports like they have been
a
number of years, but on the statewide network. Speaking of the statewide network, champions were crowned in 4 divisions for state girls volleyball this past Saturday. No real surprises. Pretty much went as
pretty much Hoyle.
Yep.
Wanawak. They had a scare against Fall River. They went 5 sets against Fall River though in the semis, but came out and handled Newman pretty good in the final there. So
that was their first ever state championship. And how about St. Croix Falls? I guess if there was an upset, it would have been St. Croix Falls.
Yeah, Howard's Grove was going for like 4 or something.
They were the 4-time defending champs.
They were going for 5 in a row.
Yeah.
And only one other team had done that. And I watched quite a bit of that. And
okay.
That was a real battle.
Yeah.
That was a real battle there. And it was fun to watch. And, well, you don't see good volleyball like that a lot.
No, you get it down there at state, though.
Wow, that ball doesn't touch the ground too often.
St. Croix Falls, also their first state championship in girls volleyball.
Yeah, they're having a heck of a fall over
there.
They
are. Yes, they are. It could continue.
Yeah, it could get even better.
Yeah. Divine Savior and Holy Angels won in Division 1 and Xavier in Division 2.
Yep, yeah. Divine Holy Savior was number 1 pretty much all season.
Yeah. I think Xavier was too because that's their second straight as well in Division 2. All right, so that's what's going on for fall sports. As
now we can turn the channel and go into the winter stuff. So
and the winter stuff is already starting. In fact, next Tuesday already, the girls, Hillsville girls are at Athens.
Yeah, and actually Saturday they're down at Just a Game Fieldhouse for a scrimmage. So, and then Tuesday they're at a pretty good Athens ball club, and then Thursday they return home to play McDonald Central. So it's pretty godling schedule right off the bat for Coach Geyer's girls. So.
And we'll find out what he thinks about that season coming up next week. He's going to join us
which
here on Two Guys
always an interesting one there.
Yes, yes. All right, with that, we'll go to where are they now here on the show?
I'm going over to Pittsville area and talk about Brad Martin. And Brad was a 1998 graduate of Pittsville High School. And Brad was a 3-year letter winner on the Pittsville Panther football team. His sophomore year, the Panthers were 3-6. Brad started at running back and rushed for 460 yards on 98 carries and 5 touchdowns. He also started at linebacker for the Panthers. He was an honorable mention choice at linebacker on the Merriwood All-Conference team. His junior year, the Panthers were 4-5. Brad rushed for 1,080 yards on 132 carries and 12 touchdowns. He led the Panthers on defense with 112 tackles and 2 pass interceptions. He was first-team All-Conference as a running back and a second-team All-Conference as a linebacker. His senior year, the Panthers were 8-3 and qualified for the WI Division V playoffs, where they were defeated in Level 2 by Glenwood City. On the season, Brad rushed for 1,562 yards and 24 touchdowns, and on defense, he led the Panthers in tackles with 135 tackles and 5 pass interceptions. He was first-team All-Conference offense and defense in the Merriwood and was named Offensive Player of the Year. He was a Channel 7 All-Star as a running back and honorable mention All-State and was selected to the Coaches Association Football All-Star Game. In the winter, Brad was a 4-year letter winner on the Panther varsity wrestling team. His freshman year, wrestling at 160 pounds, Brad had a 32-5 record. He was Merriwood regional and sectional champion, qualifying for the WI Division III state tournament, where he would finish third, losing in the state semifinals to eventual champion Ryan Hogue of St. Croix Falls. His sophomore year, wrestling at 160 pounds, he was 38-1, winning the Merriwood regional and sectional championships, qualifying for the WI Division III state tournament, where he would win the state 160-pound championship. His junior year, wrestling at 171 pounds, he was 40-0, winning the Merriwood regional and sectional championships, qualifying for the WI Division III state championship, where he would win the title at 171 pounds. His senior year, again wrestling at 171 pounds, Brad was 38-0, winning the Merriwood regional sectional championships, qualifying for the WI Division III state tournament, again winning the title at 171 pounds. That year, Brad was also named to the 1998 high school All-American team.
They still do that?
I haven't seen one for a long time.
High school All-Americans.
Yeah, I haven't seen one. And if they do, I haven't seen it. So anyway, Brad's career wrestling numbers at Pittsville were 148 wins and 6 losses. Brad graduated from Pittsville in 1998. This past October, he was named to the Pittsville Athletic Hall of Fame. After graduation, Brad earned an athletic scholarship to wrestle for the University of Wisconsin. After redshirting a year for the Badgers, Brad transferred to UW-Stevens Point to wrestle for the Pointers. After battling injuries his first 2 seasons, Brad would be healthy for his junior year and have a record of 22-4, and he was WIAC champion, qualifying for the NCAA Division III National Tournament, where he would finish 5th at 184 pounds, earning All-American honors. His senior year, Brad would have a record of 24-2. He was WIAC champion at 184 pounds, qualifying for the NCAA III National Tournament, where he would defeat Sonny Alvarez of Wartburg for the NCAA Division III National Championship at 184 pounds. Brad graduated from UW-Stevens Point in 2004 with a degree in land conservation. Today, Brad and his wife Melissa and family are part of the family farm operation in the Pittsville area, which is a dairy, beef, and crop farm. Brad Martin, Larry.
All right, yeah. Transferring from Wisconsin, I guess he had a better chance.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Maybe it wasn't everything he promised, but I, from a personal note, in those days, Nielsen wrestled Pittsville in a duel every year.
Okay.
He wrestled Ryan Hoffman 3 years, and they had some epic battles.
Oh, yeah.
But Ryan could never get over the hump against him.
Yeah.
It'd always be like 4-1 or 5-2 or something like that. But they had some epic battles, but Brad was a tremendous wrestler.
Yeah.
Tremendous wrestler.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
So.
All right, Brad Martin from Pittsville. Wasn't that where that Hanutke kid was from?
Yep. He came in after Hanutke. So,
okay. Yeah, he was like the first.
Yeah, he was the first one, and they had
4-time champion, wasn't he?
First four-timer, and the first one to go undefeated all 4 years.
4 years.
In
Okay.
high school.
Yeah.
And it's something that isn't done a lot anymore.
No.
We should have one next year again, though, in Coy Hopke from Amory.
Yeah.
He should go undefeated. I would, if somebody beats him, it'll be a shock to me. So.
All right. Moving on to college football, the University of Wisconsin lacrosse. They at least win a share of the WIAC
pretty well got her locked up.
Yeah.
Because they would have a tiebreaker over Whitewater and River Falls, and you got to hand it to lacrosse. They went on the road and beat Whitewater and River Falls both times by a field goal. So you got to hand. That's pretty tough to do. So.
Yeah, they got Stevens Point this week, and they'll win the outright championship.
Yeah, and they'll have the automatic bid to the NCAA Division III tournament. It'll be interesting to see if Whitewater and River Falls get a shot at getting in. So
I would think they would.
Yeah, I would think so.
Just on reputation alone.
Yeah, they've both been ranked close to the top 10 all year around. So
yeah. All right. The second edition of the college football playoff rankings are out, and pretty much the same as it was last week for the top
State
4.
Holding on to it. It's kind of interesting there. A lot of people don't think so. I was kind of shocked. I was watching it that night, and Kurt Hurdstreet, Ohio State alumnus, he thinks they're third behind Georgia, Michigan. He thinks Michigan is the best team, and then Georgia. So I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was surprised to hear that come out of an alumnus from Ohio State.
Yeah, right.
But, a lot of it is there's going to be some things settled on the field, though. Ohio State's got to go to Michigan last game, in a couple weeks, and we'll see what happens there. And I would think Alabama and Georgia got to hook up in probably the SEC championship game, possibly, or whoever.
Well, some things could even change this week as Michigan is at Penn State.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not going to be a gimme there,
right.
too.
And Georgia's at Ole Miss.
Yes. So yeah, Ole Miss number 9.
Right.
So, if these teams are looking for a way to move up, that's the way to do it. So
yeah, beat the top ones.
Florida State seems to be sitting in pretty good position. They've got Miami, who's unranked this week, but they don't seem like have a real big opposition down there. So
I guess I'm kind of surprised to see them in there. But
yeah, I am too.
Seeing as how their conference isn't as tough as everybody else.
I think Washington and Oregon are better football teams than Florida State.
Yeah.
I think the Pac-10 is a little bit of a battle. You got USC out there is playing well. Washington State's playing well. Oregon State's playing well. So I don't know. So it's like I said. Hopefully it all and like Texas is going to stay as long as they stay win out. They're going to stay ahead of Alabama.
Right.
So
well, I don't think Alabama's going to get in that top 4.
I don't think so
not
either.
This year.
No, so, they're probably wishing it was going to 8 now, but
yeah, things will change next year.
Saban will be whining though.
Yeah.
You can
I'm
guarantee
sure.
that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so that's college football. Let's turn to probably the biggest news before we hit the NFL.
Yeah.
Was in Major League Baseball where Craig Counsell, the Chicago Cubs didn't have an opening until Monday when they fired their manager.
Well, I said, I told a guy the other day, the Cubs played this pretty smart. All they did since the season ever was praise David Ross. Oh, he's our man, and he'll be there next year. And they also waited till Craig Counsell's contract had expired, so they didn't have to ask for permission. So,
which was October 31st.
Right. So he, the Mets, the Guardians, and I believe the Astros all asked for permission to interview him, and the Cubs didn't have to, and they played this totally the vest. And once they had an agreement in place, they fired Ross, and here they are. So, but.
Well, I tell you, the different analysts that I listened to, they are surprised that the Cubs paid him that much money.
5 years, $40 million, $8 million a year. That's a lot. That's up there in what Joe Torre used to make from George Steinbrenner.
Yeah,
and not many other. The Brewers offered him $5.5 million, and that would have made him the highest paid manager in baseball.
Right.
The previous one, Terry Francona, made $4.5 million. Last year, that was the highest one last year. So
and, of course, he's
gone
from the Guardians.
Yep. So,
but, I guess they're kind of surprised. Craig Counsell, I think I read a stat. He's 1-9 in his last 10 playoff games.
Yeah. And quite honestly, Larry, I think maybe both sides need a change. He thinks he's went as far as he could with the Brewers, and quite honestly, the Brewers maybe have went as far as they could with him too, because the last few years in the playoffs has been nothing.
Right.
So.
And people are wondering how he's going to be, accepted. Of course, the Cubs play the Brewers a lot. Yeah. It's not like he left the team.
No.
And went to another team.
Yeah,
his contract was up.
Yeah, and the Brewers made a lot of attempts to re-sign him, but he wanted to play the field a little bit, and set the bar a little higher, and which he did. And
he basically was a free agent.
And hopefully, the fans treat him with the respect he earned. But right away there was some idiot that had to go put paint on his sign at the Craig Counsell Park in Whitefoot Shpee. I mean, right away there's some idiot that got to do it. I don't know what he's thinking, but
he has every right to do what he did.
And quite honestly, when the Cubs come to American Family Field, he'll get booed, but not terribly, because half the crowd will be Cubs anyway.
That's right. I guess if you're Cubs, they're kind of wondering, scratching their head why they fired David Ross. I don't think he did that bad of a job there.
He had him close to a wild card this year. They were one of the best teams in July and August, and they kind of faded in September a little bit, them and Cincinnati. But, boy, I'll tell you, we'll see.
Yeah.
They've got some good young talent, but so does Milwaukee. And so, but, I really honestly believe, Larry, both teams need probably a change. So, So it'll be interesting to see who the Brewers bring in.
Yeah, that'll be the big thing.
Yeah. So.
There were some manager positions. Stephen Vogt kind of an interesting one there with Cleveland.
Former Brewer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he played for.
He hasn't had any management.
No, absolutely. No. I don't know if he's done much coaching. You know,
he hasn't been out of the league that long.
Yeah, because he played for Atlanta a year or so ago.
Yeah.
He was like the second string catcher in Atlanta. So I don't know who he coached. He coached a year, and all of a sudden he's a manager. Everything I've read, people have always thought he would make a good major league manager.
Okay, all right. And then Carlos Mendoza, hired by the Mets.
And he was on the Yankees staff. So.
And then I just heard yesterday, later in the afternoon, Ron Washington is going to head up the Angels.
Okay. And Ron Washington was a manager.
He was with Texas.
Yeah. And was he back there as a coach? Or?
He was with Atlanta.
Yeah, he was Atlanta as a coach.
Third base coach.
I look for Atlanta's, there's some names on Atlanta's coaching staff that could be in Milwaukee too. And one name that really pounds out to me is Kevin Seitzer.
Oh, yeah.
He's the hitting coach at Atlanta. He played for the Brewers for a while.
Yeah.
So that's one name I thought. I heard the name Don Mattingly. And
yes, I've heard that name.
I wasn't really – he did all right in Florida, but you look how they've taken off under Skip Schumacher down there, and you wonder. So,
Do you think a seasoned veteran manager is better than a young guy?
I don't know. You got a lot of young guys coming in.
Yeah.
A lot of young guys. Maybe, I thought, well, maybe they should look to the Nashville, Rick Sweet, who's been the national manager for a long time.
Okay.
Coach these kids. But Rick Sweet is 71 years old.
Yeah.
And I don't see him.
Yeah.
And I've heard name Pat Murphy. Well, Pat Murphy is in his 60s, but I would more expect Pat Murphy to be Council's bench coach in Chicago too, I would think.
Well, now from what I heard today, all the coaches for the Brewers are staying put.
Okay.
That's for what I heard.
Okay. I hadn't heard that.
Yeah,
so.
I heard that
okay,
earlier
so Council,
yesterday.
And most of them make sense. The pitching coach, I forget his name off the top of my head, but he came up through the minors with all these guys.
Yeah,
so
right.
I knew.
Yeah,
I figured he would
him stay.
I figured he would stay. Batting coaches have come and went there. For
Yes, they
years. So.
Atlanta's manager, Snitker.
Yep.
His son.
Yes.
Is another one that was mentioned.
That was the name I was going to bring up too, and the whole thing is funny about this whole thing, Larry. Council is up for manager of the year.
Yes.
But the odds-on favorite is Skip Schumacher down at Miami. So.
Probably, yeah.
So.
Yeah. In fact, Council's been up as a finalist for
Many
a few years, but never won it.
3 times he has never won.
Never won. No.
So.
All right. Also, news coming this week: the NFL and the Packers announced Monday that the NFL Draft in 2025 will take place in Green Bay.
Yep.
April 24th through the 26th of 2025. So that's
That'd be
big
an
news.
exciting time, and that's going to bring a lot of money into the Fox Valley.
Yeah, they said last April in Kansas City, more than 312,000 fans were there.
Yeah, so you're going to figure probably every motel room from maybe even Marshfield all the way east.
Yeah.
And Milwaukee up, and and probably Wausau is going to be full, and that's going to be a great 3 days. And what a chance to really show off the Titletown district and Lambeau Field, and it's going to be tremendous.
Yeah,
so,
it is. It's going to be a good time.
I don't know if a guy should go or just watch it on TV, but.
Yeah, it could be. It could be, as they say, a zoo. Over there.
Yeah. You think there could be a lot of people are going to go that have never been to a game, probably.
Right.
And then you have other teams people coming in too. It's
from all over the all over the world.
It's crazy, but looks like it's going to be a big time.
Yeah,
so.
This year's or next year, I should say, the 2024 draft is going to be in Detroit.
Yep.
And 2025 will be in Green Bay. So good time there.
Yep.
Badger men got their season underway.
Yeah.
With a win, big win.
Arkansas State got a Chucky Hepburn leading them with 20 points. A good start there. Got a good test right away Saturday night, hosting Tennessee at Kohl Center, and then Tuesday they go over to Providence. So 2 good tests right off the bat for Coach Gard and his crew. But,
I didn't realize it, but they got all 5 starters back.
Yes, they do
this year.
Yep. So. And brought in some pretty good talent too. So the depth is pretty good there too. So, it's going to be a tough Big Ten, but I think they'll be very competitive. So.
And then we got the Packers, who finally got off the snide, winning one over the L.A. Rams. Of course, people say, well, it was the L.A. Rams, but hey, you got to beat the team that's in front of you.
You got to beat the team. And I thought their defense played extremely well. I thought Jair Alexander probably played as well as he is.
Yeah.
And the rookie is that Valentine.
Valentine, yeah.
Well, I thought he looked very good.
Yeah.
He looked very good, and I thought they tackled better, and their up front played better, and Jordan Love didn't make mistakes. They had a lot of penalties, a lot of stupid penalties. I mean, lining up twice offside when they're trying to do their version.
I still couldn't figure out how they're lined up offside. When they showed that, I'm like, I still don't understand what you're pointing at there.
And the first one he pointed was Nyman, and Nyman was more lined up in the backfield, which is also a penalty. But I don't know. A lot of people, I've heard a lot of people say that it wasn't a penalty, and they had it called twice on them.
I couldn't figure it out.
But for the most part, they stayed away from the mistakes, and the offense is still a work in play. But it was good to see them getting the ball in Aaron Jones's hands.
Yeah, they got to get that running game going.
Yeah, and that helped a lot. And a nice touchdown pass to Musgrave at the end on kind of a neat play, a fake screen, and then him cutting over the middle. But they go to Pittsburgh Sunday, so we'll see.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is 5-3, and they're right in the thick of it.
They're not an offensive juggernaut, but there's a pretty much Mr. Watt and company is a very, very good defense.
Very good defense. Yep.
So.
Tonight, not much of a game on Thursday Night Football.
I tell you what, Larry, the whole week is kind of not great.
Yeah, Carolina and Chicago tonight.
Yeah, and then the best game I could come up with over the weekend was San Francisco at Jacksonville on Sunday.
That's a nice one.
Sunday night, the Jets at Vegas, and then Denver at Buffalo on Monday night.
Yeah.
But there was nothing to flex this week.
No. That's the Jets. Aaron Rodgers talking about.
He's still hammering around. He's might be back. I seen pictures of him throwing. So
he's walking around pretty good for having surgery on Achilles.
Yeah. So
maybe
who knows?
Maybe he's hiding the pain.
If they're close to a playoff, at the end, who knows? But boy, there's a lot of rust there, and it's still tender. It's a good chance to hurt yourself even worse.
And even with Rodgers in there, there's still going to be that offensive line isn't that good.
Yeah, and why take a chance?
Right.
Their defense is great, but their offensive line is just terrible.
Yeah, and he might get hurt again if he stays in there trying to do that.
The announcers didn't seem too impressed with Alan Lazard the other night too. He just hasn't lived up to his potential, and I guess you could blame part of that Rodgers not being there, but
all them guys went over there now. They're
you don't hear Randall Cobb's name too much either.
No. All right. Anything else?
Just NASCAR finished up their season. Ryan Blaney winning the season championship, so that was back-to-back championships for Penske Racing. Was Joey Logano won it in 2022. So Blaney with a second place finish at Phoenix edges out Kyle Larson, who's third. So,
all right.
So
there you go.
So.
All right, so a busy weekend of football.
Yeah,
for me and you.
Doing some traveling.
Yeah, we'll be heading over to Durand tomorrow night for Edgar and Bangor in Division 7, 7 o'clock on 92.3 FM WOSQ. And then Saturday afternoon, the 8-player football championship at Wisconsin Rapids, 1 o'clock in the afternoon on 92.7 WPKG. Good luck, Thorp Cardinals.
Yeah,
you bet.
Yeah, great. It's going to be a great game, and they're hot. They're the hot team in the 8-man.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
Going to be fun to watch them.
You bet. All right, that'll do it for Two Guys on Sports. I'm Larry Hazer.
I'm Dick Olson.
We'll talk to you again next week.